Hello, welcome to the new March edition of the Boston Bros Political Show. I'm Jim Campanini, co-host with Boston Herald political columnist Peter Lucas. How you doing, Peter?
I'm doing fine, Jim. Good to be here.
How do I look?
You look terrific. Your tan is terrific.
Yeah, back from Florida after a month in Florida. It was a great chance to recoup and catch up with a lot of friends down there. But I tell you, I was following your columns and a lot of stories coming out of Massachusetts. And I tell you, even when I ran into friends or people who had left Massachusetts and moved to Florida, they just were shaking their head at all the things that are going on in Massachusetts. You know, some good things, but mostly what is going on, they say, Jim, with all the taxes and everything else. And they were talking about Governor Maura Healey and what's been going on with her and some of these taxes just don't understand. The big one was she's raising everything from candy tax, excise tax, local meals, option tax, but the one that got the people was this prescription tax.
Prescription tax. Let me tell you something.
$2 per prescription?
Here's some prescriptions. $2 for, I don't know, lisinopril.
Yeah, I take lisinopril.
$2 for, I can't pronounce it. $2 for the big guy here.
Yeah,
this one knocks you out. And this one here revives you. $2 each. That's $2, $4, $6, $8. That's $8. That's almost enough to buy an illegal immigrant breakfast.
Oh man. But I mean, no, where is the money going to go that she's raising for this?
I don't know. Maybe it's going to her presidential campaign.
Oh, so you think she's got presidential aspirations?
Well, she's doubling down on her criticism of Donald Trump, which I don't understand. She's turning out to be like Zelensky. In other words, she's tugging at Superman's cape and, expecting Superman to bail her out. It's like Zelensky going to the president and insulting him at the same time asking him for relief to help him with the war against Russia. And now you have Maura Healey doubling down on her criticism of the president while depending on the president for federal aid. Mm-hmm. Now, the Speaker of the House said last week that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts gets about $15 billion.
That's amazing.
In federal funds.
Which we need.
And if we don't get that money, forget about the Cape Cod bridges. They're going to fall down before they're replaced. And I don't see where it gets where it helps the Commonwealth in any way by attacking the president constantly.
Well, I like that comparison, or at least that relationship between Zelensky and Maura Healey. I tell you put a black coat on Zelensky, you would say that they could start their own fashion company.
You mean she dresses like? You mean they dress alike?
Well, they're similar. There's similarities between the two of them, but it's amazing that they are starting to sound alike. I mean, here's Zelensky. First, he says he wants to end the war, but he doesn't want peace. I don't understand it. And here's the Governor Healey. She wants to help the Massachusetts economy when the hospitals are going out of business, rising health care costs, trying to put a tax on prescriptions. I mean, you go for prescriptions there. I know people in my community who have 10 prescriptions. That's $20. Now, sure, even if insurance picks up the tab, where do they think that money? Who's going to pay for that? The drug companies, Walgreens, CVS, they're going to just pass that on to the consumer, who's going to have to pass it on with higher healthcare fees. I mean, there doesn't seem to be any plan behind any of these ideas.
Well, it doesn't seem to be anything beyond taxation. Don't forget, she wants to put the tax on candy now, too.
Yes.
The sales tax on candy.
To raise $45 million. I read that one. I didn't understand.
That, to me, is like a tax on children.
And we just, the budget is $62 billion, okay? And And we can't afford any of these. We still have to raise these, what I call these nuisance taxes. That's what they are, because they're nothing big that is really going to help build new structures or anything like, anything like that. I mean, the 45 million for the candy tax.
Well, the money, she needs the money to help pay for the cost of taking care of the immigrants who flooded into Massachusetts.
Yeah, was that just another $465 million they passed the supplemental budget?
Right, to continue housing immigrant families.
Yeah.
And it's sort of out of hand. Here's the irony of it. The only person dealing with the immigration crisis can't be found in Massachusetts. The only person doing that is Donald Trump in the White House. Mm-hmm. He has shut down the border, limiting the number of immigrants who are coming into the country and in Massachusetts, which is just about a sanctuary state.
Well,
and you can continue to attack Trump, but he's the only one who's done anything to curtail the influx, the invasion of illegal immigrants into the country.
Well, I mean, I know our law enforcement has done a great job, sometimes with their hands tied behind their back, keeping crime down. But I tell you, Trump should be given an award, because since he unleashed Tom Homan and ICE, I mean, look, that's one thing I read in Florida, all the arrests being made, fentanyl suppliers, assaults, homicides, all these illegal immigrants that they've captured, some cartel gang members in Massachusetts, living in some public housing, the public shelters. I mean, in the story about Healey first said that she ordered background checks on all these people who were given shelter, and then she says, oh, that wasn't followed through, and now they had to hire Ed Davis's security firm, the former police chief and Boston police commissioner, to look into it, to check it. I mean, we have a government. Don't we have people who understand security and how to do this? How come we always have to hire experts and outside consultants when we got a workforce that probably rivals any workforce in America, and yet we still got to keep spending money on top of money to get the answers and solutions?
Jim, that was an assignment to come out with a solution that you expected to come out with. In other words, everything is fine. That was the type of that study. Any person who walks through into any of these Healey hotels, right off the bat, can see problems right before your eyes.
Well, it's amazing that
the 9/11 calls,
Yep.
the police presence constantly. It's the problem is out of hand.
Well, one of the most astonishing numbers that I saw this past week, a year ago, last month, February, the Border Patrol, the southern border, they had not arrested, but they detained and turned back 146,000 people in February of 2024. This past month, it was down to 8,400 people that tried to cross the border illegally, stopped. And then it got down so low, it was only like 465 people tried to cross one day. The word is out. Donald Trump has closed the border. That's how simple it was for Joe Biden. I remember that famous clip where Joe Biden said about immigration, oh, Congress, they got to give me support. They got to give me legislation. They got to give me the money to enforce that. Trump signed an executive order.
And did it on his own, and continues to do it on his own, without Congress. And it just showed what an effective leader, what an effective executive can do when in power.
Well, why isn't Governor Healey giving Donald Trump credit for at least helping him as that cause? I mean, if you would do a poll in Massachusetts today of all the residents, I would think that they would be happy that some of these hotels and public shelters can soon can turn back into productive entities, okay, in their communities. All right, rather than problems for the police, the fire department, and other things that come with having these these populations that really aren't doing anything productive.
Well, it goes against the progressive view of the world. They're for immigration. They're for illegal immigration, and they've opened the borders when Biden was president, and the result is chaos. We've had chaos in Massachusetts for the last 3 years. Remember, it was almost quaint when Governor DeSantis sent up 50 Venezuelans to Martha's Vineyard. That was like a good story. You're welcome. We'll take care of you, and so on and so forth. That opened the door for a deluge. It was an invasion of Massachusetts, and now we're paying for it. You mentioned the $60 billion budget. You know, we're doing almost $1.5 billion a year just for the immigrants, just for housing and feeding immigrants.
It truly is when you hard to understand when you do a deep dive how that budget is blown up, and yet we don't have enough money for education for this. And like you said, now she's been the governor's being very antagonistic to Donald Trump, and it leads into she's leading the resistance along with the governor from Maine,
Janet Mills.
And now Maura Healey, I see, is going to go on the Seth Meyers show, NBC late night TV. Hope you stay up, 12:35 a.m. Put your DVDs on, DVRs. I'm sorry, and check her performance.
You know,
what's this all about?
Well, I think what it's all about is there is a tremendous lack of any form of leadership in the Democratic Party, and the leadership positions in the Democratic Party are wide open. And a person like, say, Janet Mills, for instance, in Maine, or Maura Healey in Massachusetts, can fill that position. After all, Maura Healey is outspoken. She's from a progressive state. She's doing all the progressive things that are expected of her, attacking Trump and so on, and standing up to Trump, although not as effective as Janet Mills did. But she can become a national figure overnight, and I think she is becoming a national figure. She could become a leader in the Democratic Party because there's such a lack of leadership that it's wide open.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Governor Healey is intelligent. I think she's personable. The only thing that I haven't seen out of her administration yet is any solution for anything. Okay, it seems like the only way we solve problems is get more money and throw it at the issue. So it's the same thing with most Democrat governors, and I'm not letting Charlie Baker off the hook either, because I think he was a pretty good manager, but at the same time, dealing with all Democrat legislature, it's tough to stem that tide, and you either go with it to get along, and that's what Charlie had to do over 8 years.
You don't understand. Progressives don't solve problems.
You sound like my wife. I don't understand. Go on.
They create problems.
Yeah.
Somebody else has to solve the problem.
But she could take off. I mean, Maura Healey. You're right. I mean, the Democrat shelf for presidential contenders and candidates. I mean, if you look up on that shelf, it's the same old. No one really new that's exciting that stands out. And you know what? Maura, she can dribble with both hands and everything. She could really take off.
Well, why not? Not only is she, a progressive, she'd be the first female governor we've had in Massachusetts, the first openly gay governor we've ever had. She would be a first openly gay leader of a Democratic Party. I see it in the cards, actually.
Yeah. And
look, we need a candidate from Massachusetts to become president because we've been losing frequently. We lost with Ted Kennedy. We lost with Mike Dukakis. We lost with John Kerry. We need a winner badly.
Well, I don't know if she had New Hampshire or another state after her name, she'd be more likely to go further, because I don't know, Massachusetts across the country, it's still known as a great state to visit. It's losing its edge on state to live in. Most people come to college here, great college and schools of medicine, but then they leave. Retaining these people is becoming difficult, more difficult every year. So Massachusetts could be the killjoy for any national candidate. But who knows? Someone's got to come along to change it. Maybe it's going to be her. Turning to another person from Massachusetts who's going to Washington, Mayor Michelle Wu. She's going to testify before Congress. Is that today or tomorrow?
She's testifying Wednesday.
Wednesday. Okay.
Before the House Oversight Committee, which is investigating sanctuary cities like Boston. And she'll be there with the mayors of New York, Denver, and Chicago. Good luck with that.
No,
like the four horsemen of the apocalypse.
You talk about Governor Healey's opportunity on the Seth Meyers show. Does Michelle Wu have a chance to really raise her status? Even in the backdrop here is she's got a campaign opponent, Jonathan Kraft, in that mayoral race.
Right, but she can do herself a lot of good before that committee if they start to bully her around like Chairman James Comer is, liable to do. Because I think Michelle Wu has a story to tell because she comes from a historic city where, the Revolutionary War began, where the colonists stood up to British law, which they detested, and fought a war against it. And I think Michelle Wu can point out a lot of the history of Boston as relates to freedom and anti-laws that are oppressive. Like they figure the law on dealing with immigration, illegal immigrations is. So I don't know, Jim. What's your thought?
Well, that's interesting that you say that, raise up about freedom. No doubt about it. She's another intelligent woman. She probably knows something about American history, but I've never heard her talk anything about John Adams, John Quincy Adams, Faneuil Hall, okay? I've never heard her talk about any figures outside of beyond the 19th century. So, some of these people are fake politicians when they say that they stick up for freedom and we stand for freedom. They like to use it as a backdrop, Boston. But when it comes to really talking about freedom, transparency, and other things, they just put their finger up to the wind and see which way the wind is blowing, and they're not really showing any courage. She does have a chance. But, I read where here's a woman, she's going to speak before Congress. And I guess if I were to go to speak before Congress and they wanted to know what I observe in my neighborhood, what my thoughts were, not that they would ever want to, would I hire a $1,000 an hour consultant to go to speak before the elected officials of the United States of America? Okay, would I have to do that? And here's a mayor of a major city, okay? So it just goes on. I mean, they fill their head with thoughts. Oh, this is how you got to act. This is what you got to do. Look at all those college presidents who ran into trouble, including Claudine Gay from Harvard, who lost her job. I mean, she went before a committee in Congress to talk about, anti-Semitism at the colleges and stuff.
Right.
They couldn't even answer what anti-Semitism was.
That's why I think...
So let Michelle Wu, I'd rather see her say what's on her mind.
That's why I think she'll be very well prepared for the committee.
I hope.
And she has a story to tell. Boston is a safe city, even though a cop shot a knife-wielding individual at a restaurant downtown over the last couple of days. That didn't fit very well with a safe city story that we're telling, but she does have a story to tell, and Boston has a story to tell. And I don't know if she's capable of telling it, but I wouldn't be surprised if she stands up to the committee and talks to them about the about Boston and its history and the Freedom Trail and what it stands for.
Well,
and,
you know what?
I mean,
you should be getting $1,000 as a consultant. That's for her, instead of talking to someone. Well, let's see what she says and what thoughts come out of her.
you're trying to sell me cheap. $1,000.
Well, she could probably use someone practical like that, but we'll see what happens. The other thing that came out about Boston this week. I mean, I was. Coming home from Florida, and I saw that salary list that has exploded. And but the thing that struck out, and this is once again no outrage. You know, if I was living in Boston, the average salary of a city worker in Boston went up 40% in 1 year.
That's why she's going to be reelected.
In 20, Teddy, listen to this. Teddy,
everybody's in the payroll.
Teddy, the average salary of a Boston city worker, okay, in 2023 was $74,330. Do you know what it is today? 1 year later, the average salary. $84,784. That's unbelievable. A 40% increase. No, I'm sorry. It went from 74,330 to 105,000 in 2024 under Michelle Wu. The data showed that Wu created 54 new positions in 2024 with an average starting salary of $84,781. They added 301 new titles to government.
Now, just think if all those people turn out to vote.
Yeah.
Would that include teachers or just municipal?
You know, that's a good question. This was a Boston Herald story, and it was just all employees. I guess their payroll, total payroll for the city of Boston is $2.14 billion in 2024. But here's the other thing. 1,840 earned over $200,000, and 8,384 earned $100,000 or more. So you know what? It probably does have teachers, firefighters, police, and there was one police officer who made $500,000. So, and that was with almost half his salary and overtime and stuff. So it just goes to show, you know, people are so excited about Doge, and I know they've made some mistakes, and I might even say, geez, you know, show a little more clarity in what you're trying to do here, because they're deleting just as much as they're you know, they have to go back and delete and make up for some of the errors that they say. But you know what? People have said forever, this bureaucracy keeps growing at all levels of government.
Well, what we need is a Doge for Massachusetts.
Yeah, well, that's my point.
We really do.
And what's wrong with that?
Nothing. It's supposed to be the legislature, but the legislature doesn't do it. We need something like Doge to go through item by item in the budget and to come up with recommendations like Elon Musk is doing on the national scale.
Well, I think we do have a Doge person, but they're fighting that person. It's the state auditor.
Oh, the state auditor.
She's trying to get into the legislature and do an audit of the legislature and how they work and the committee process. And now they can't even meet in the same room together, I guess. She's a Democrat. You got the Democrat-dominated legislature. I mean, you might have your own battle of Bunker Hill brewing over here.
Well, it is a tough situation on the Hill because she's getting no support on her mission to audit the legislature. She's getting no support from the governor, no support from the attorney general, and she's out there all alone. And
But the people supported her, Peter. Over 70% of the people voted in favor of that ballot question to audit the state legislature.
Right.
Does that mean anything anymore?
It used to mean something. However, it's such a tangled web that's been created at the State House. You don't know who is doing what to whom. Mm-hmm. And she's got her hands full. She's on the right side of the issue, but unfortunately the issue has become so convoluted and it's going to eventually end up before the Supreme Court. There's no doubt about that.
Well, there's the dominant Z. Like Trump's got Zelensky. This is the dominant Z of the legislature. You know, I don't know. Does she wear all black?
No, she doesn't wear all black.
All right, but the Zolio, I like that.
𝐁𝐫𝐤𝐳.
The 𝐁𝐫𝐤𝐳, yeah. So it'll be interesting because I think that's headed to the Supreme Judicial Court eventually.
Everything is headed to the court. I mean, if it's not the Massachusetts Supreme Court, it's the U.S. Supreme Court.
Yeah.
I don't know how many suits have been filed against Trump over these Doge cuts.
Well, I think throughout the world we have a compromise problem. No one knows how to compromise. They should read Donald Trump's book, Art of the Deal, you know, because I think bringing people to the table, and then you have to give and you have to get, but you have to give up something to get something. And this goes back to what's happening with the Ukraine-Russian war.
Or maybe Zelensky should have read it before he went to the White House the other
I think
day.
so. And you know, I read some reports where Zelensky met prior to that meeting with Trump. I guess it's true. He met with the Democrat senators, was it? Democrat caucus?
Yes, he did. The senator from Connecticut.
Yeah. And
they prepped him on how to react to Donald Trump. Unfortunately, the reaction ended up with him being thrown out of the White House.
well, it's what do you think is going to come out from that? Now you've covered that Western Europe and Eastern Europe, and you've traveled there extensively and stuff. I mean,
I think Zelensky will have to cave in because there's no alternative. If he's going to depend on France and the UK to come to his aid, he's in big trouble because he needs the United States desperately. And the United States is the only country who can bring about a peace plan that's acceptable to both sides. And without the United States, Europe and Ukraine don't count for much.
do you think? I mean, the press is the mainstream media is obviously, they just keep pushing this image of Trump as a bully, and because they've never seen diplomacy like this. Well, they saw it a little in his first term at 16, but it seems like everybody's got to do everything behind closed doors and got to be prim and proper, big table, water in the middle. Everybody has a little breakfast, a lunch and stuff, and they talk things out. And here's a guy who's basically saying, if you or I were dealing with a dispute with our neighbor, that's how we deal with it. We talk right there, say, hey, this is what I want, this is what you want, and take your garbage cans out the night before instead of waking everybody up in the neighborhood early in the morning or something like that. And then let's come to an accommodation here. What do you need?
Well, he does things differently.
Yeah.
And actually, it's kind of refreshing to see things done out in the open that used to be done behind closed doors. And but it doesn't matter what he does. The progressives on the left are going to criticize him no matter what he does. It doesn't matter. However, he still has the majority of people in the country supporting him, and they like what he's doing on the border, on foreign relations, et cetera, bringing business into the country, and so on.
Well, I like this pivot to Latin America. I remember when I was editor of the Lowell Sun and the editorial page editor, I wrote a column 30 years ago saying how America should take care of its Latin American neighbors, try to build up the economy, have better relations, because we wouldn't have problems in the Western Hemisphere if we treated them more like neighbors rather than, we used to like to classify them as third world countries, second world countries. Let's make it a great hemisphere and create good trade for everybody and stuff. Now here's Trump saying, hey, you know what? Let Europe take care of Europe, and I'm going to start turning towards some of these countries here that need our help, and we'd be grateful for it.
You could make the Central American countries almost a paradise. They have everything going for them, environmentally speaking. I've been down in Nicaragua, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Honduras. I've been to those countries. I've been amazed at the beaches, the open spaces, the environmental, the jungles, and under proper management, those countries could be flying. They could be in terrific shape with with proper United States guidance and financial aid, in my opinion.
Well, I love Chilean wine, Argentinian wine. Even the wines from Uruguay are getting more and more popular. So you know what? As far as I'm concerned, let's open up the trade routes and let's get a little better relationship with our southern neighbors, and let's see where it takes us. But the other thing is, the major stories. I mean, the CEO of the largest one of the largest chip
Manufacturers,
in the
yeah.
world is building 5 plants in Arizona.
Right.
$500 billion investment. 3 manufacturing plants, 2 assembly plants. He was in Washington. You look for the story. It's on the 8th page of the newspaper. All the jobs it's going to bring to Arizona. It's going to put us on the world stage again, because that's what Trump said. He didn't want to rely on foreign chips. Okay, in the scheme of things, with China, that the chip wars, as they call it, we'd be deficient if that dried up. He says, why don't we have domestic production? So here you have someone who's launching a major investment in America. The other thing is AI. Top AI producers and any manufacturers. They've made billions of dollars in investments and stuff. Why isn't this news filtering out there and
The
getting
media,
to the mainstream?
the left-wing media will not give him a break. They'll give him credit for nothing. That's why Trump goes out there and he takes credit for himself. Nobody else is going to give him credit. And I have to hand it to him for his staying power alone. It's amazing how he's been able to take these beatings from the press and still not only survive, but excel in leading the country.
Well, how come our visionary congressional delegation from Massachusetts isn't on the edge of all this and looking for opportunities for our state, trying to lure these companies to come to Massachusetts?
Listen, the 9 members of the Massachusetts congressional delegation to Congress are practically useless in this administration. They all look alike, vote alike, think alike. My theory is this. If we want to save money, we should just send one of them down and keep the other 8 here working in Massachusetts. We could save a lot of money because that one person can vote for them all. They all vote alike.
Well, I just don't understand it because, we got economic development boards and everything else. And you think that the congressional delegation, if they were wired in with any part of the administration, you would think they might have some opportunities to look at some of this and say, gee, why don't they consider Massachusetts? But
Listen,
we missed the boat. We missed the boat.
Only yesterday, Senator Elizabeth Warren and Eddie Markey voted against banning biological men from participating in women's sports.
Yeah.
I mean, how awkward and backward is that?
Well,
They're progressives.
every Democrat
They
senator
should call them.
voted against
They should
it.
call them regressives, not progressives.
Not even one. Not even one Democrat senator voted for that.
Right.
Not one. They
Right.
all voted together. They all think the same. Not even one could be have the courage to stand with Lincoln Riley.
That's why the leadership position in the Democratic Party is wide open. Even the Tampon Tim from Minnesota is
Walz.
making noises to run for president.
Yeah.
That's how desperate they are.
That's another thing. Well, here's a great segue then. The new voter statistics for the Massachusetts Secretary of State's office show that major political parties suffered a slight decline in registered voters while unenrolled affiliation increased. So Democrat registrations went down as well as the GOP. They're almost like in the state, and unenrolled went up. Now, just as a disclaimer, I've been unenrolled for the 35 years I've been in Massachusetts. I like to try to pick out the best candidate. Most people, I think, think that way, but I don't know. Do you read anything to those figures? Are things changing? Is this why people are leaving the major political parties because they don't like them, or they?
Unfortunately, that study was done before the Democrats began registering illegal immigrants. That'll boost the party back up to where it was.
Yeah, there were only slight decreases, but it was something that the Boston Herald reported. I thought it was interesting. There are now 3 million, more than 3 million, 3.2 million unenrolled registered voters in Massachusetts. 1.3 million are Democrats. 423,000 are Republicans. So, if there were a valid third party, independent party, geez, 3.2 million voters, if you could get them all to think the same, but that doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't happen.
And most of those independent voters are probably Democrats who just want to play the game, look like they're standing in the middle. So when a Republican does become governor in the state, which we do like every 8 or 12 years, you know, they get in on the fruits.
Well, being an enrolled voter is also gives you the opportunity to vote in either primary.
Yes.
So you can have fun doing that.
Yeah. And you know, and I've done that. I voted, like I said, I look for the best candidate, and then you go back and you vote in either primary, and sometimes there's not even a Democrat primary in your local district and stuff. So, anything else on your plate that you're going to be doing?
Well, we'll all be watching the president give his speech before Congress Tuesday night, which should be very interesting.
Any predictions?
Yeah, Democrats will boycott it. Probably.
Well, I heard they were going to go there, but they were who are they taking as guests to their guests? They were taking. I don't know, were they taking illegal immigrants or something? They were taking, well, they can't take people who are deported.
I think they're taking people who've lost their jobs under the Doge.
Oh, that's what it is.
That's
I'm
what
sorry.
they're doing.
That's what it is. People who've lost their jobs under
Right.
the Doge. I hope they all stand up so we can see with them and ask them what they were doing. So the other thing that struck my eye was Trump signs the executive order designating English as the official language of the United States, joining 170 other countries that have an official language.
Yeah, we're going to start at Market Basket.
But here's the point. They make a big deal of it, okay? It's taken the 21st century in America before we've designated English as our official language, okay? 30 states have designated English as their official language, including the state of Massachusetts. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
It was a 1975 state Supreme Court case which underscored the official status of English, and in 2002, English was declared the common public language in the state of Massachusetts.
Well, we've ignored it ever since.
A good point. Well, that's the thing. So it's already been the official language. He writes an executive order, and then all the criticism starts. So people don't even know the law and that it existed in Massachusetts all these years. And where are the fact checkers anymore? Where are the fact checkers?
They're gone. They're gone.
Unbelievable. So I think I'm going to end this from my standpoint, the quote of the week.
Which is?
Okay. Here's the quote of the week. Baseball, which is dying, should get off its fat, lazy ass and elect Pete Rose, even though far too late, into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Who said that?
Donald Trump said that.
He did.
Yeah, I know.
Donald Trump, he said he was going to pardon Pete Rose. And even though it will not create eligibility for Pete Rose, he hopes that baseball will come to its sanity. And the all-time hits leader, he finished with over 4,000 hits, who got, swept up in his own baseball gambling scandal, that it would at least let people, the Baseball Hall of Fame people say, hey, honor the man. He did what he did, but it's over. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
I think it's a good move, and I'm glad you're excited about it. But if you get too excited, I got a pill for you.
All right. Well, Pete Rose, by the way, died last year at the age of 83. But you compare the people that Joe Biden has pardoned and now Donald Trump, I put Pete Rose at the top of the list.
Okay, you're leaving out poor Hunter
Oh,
Biden.
well, yeah, okay, good enough. So, Peter, thank you for the pills. My blood pressure, I need a blood pressure pill about right now. So, until next week when we convene the Boston Bros, you can look at our past shows on InsideLowell.com. This is Jim Campanini signing off.
Peter Lucas.
God bless.